Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The restless dead of Nehekra are on the move as the Lizardmen invade from the Southlands. We have myself on the Tomb King forces, and we'll have for Poland commanding the Lizardmen. So for the Tomb King army, it is going to be a skeleton spearmen and skeleton warriors in that front line. They do have a pair of Kemerian war sphinxes as a nice little bit of support, and these guys do have a nice little armor piercing bonus versus infantry, really good against like Saurus and the like. But Cetra the Imperishable is going to be commanding his own, and for his kit, he is going to be bringing Nero's Incantation of Protection, Dejaf's Incantation of Cursed Blades, and then we have the Unyielding Will. We have the Restless Dead War passive, which gives a nice little bit of healing to all units when he is casting spells, mostly why you do bring Dejaf's Incantation and Nero's Incantation, because it is quite cheap to just kind of spam those two spells, and they are rather useful spells on top of that. We also have the Curse, and then for the rest of the army, we have some Tomb Guard in the backline, going to be trying to give a little bit of space between the front line and themselves, just to kind of avoid any of the wind blasts that might be coming from the Lizardmen casters, because that is one of their biggest threats on the field. We have the Chosen of the Gods, the Ushapti Greatbow ROR, and they do have a nice bit of armor piercing themselves, and with their spread shot, they are able to get some nice damage because they also have Shield Breaker, so even like Saurus Temple Guard and the stuff, these guys kill them very, very quickly. We have a Necrotech as well, especially with having a War Sphinx. You can't use the Restoration on Cetra, unfortunately, but you can use it on the other one, and that's a nice little bit of healing, so that's 2k in total of healing from that bad boy. We have the Eyes of the Desert, the ROR Sepulchral Stalkers. They have stock, they have poison, and very strong against like large targets, because they can get a lot of good damage done from them. We have one regular Ushapti, which is firing off their bows, and that is going to be it for the Tomb Kings. As we have the Lizardman side, there's going to be a couple of Pterodon riders off in the back. They are the ones with the Fire Leech Bolas, and these are also really good units to deal with like Tomb Guard. Their flaming attacks is a nice little explosion, especially with how tightly packed all of the Tomb Kings are, and the low armor of the Tomb Guard, only 50, which isn't really all too much. They can do a lot of damage to those guys. We have a couple of Chameleon Skinks going to be out in front, going to be screening out Cetra from doing what he would like with the rest of the units. A couple of Skink cohorts as well on the flank. They have a nice little bit of range. They have, especially with 120 models, that can do a nice bit of damage even with only 3 rounds of ammunition. They have poison at range on top of that, and then for the front line, it is going to be pretty much a Saurus rush. So we have Saurus warriors with shields. For that front line in the center ranks, it is going to be the Star Chamber Guardians. These guys have magical attacks. They have a strong bonus versus large and armor piercing, and they do have Guardian as well. And for the Lords and Heroes for the Lizardmen, it is going to be a Skink Priest of Heaven, going to be rolling in with Wind Blast, which is a very common spell here in this matchup, and Harmonic Convergence as well, which is plus 24 melee attack and melee defense. For the Lord, it is going to be Krokgar. He is going to be coming in with the Hand of the Gods, which is a very nice range attack, and especially against the Tomb King Lords, it does fire attacks and magical damage. So both of this, and now the thing with this is the range is kind of, you want to hit it right in the middle. Also has the Swiftness of Itzel, as well as Deadly Onslaught, and the Sacred Spawning of Exwaddle, giving a nice little bit of extra buffs to him. And then stocked in the back here is going to be the Umbral Tide, the Salamander Hunting Pack ROR, and these guys have stock. They have Perfect Vigor as well, and they also have a bonus versus large with flaming attacks in melee and at range. So these guys are very strong burst damage, but they are a little squishy. They only have 3,000 HP, and those Ushapti would love to be able to shoot on them, but luckily for them, they will be stocked initially. But that is it for both sides, so let's get things rolling, as the Lizardmen are going to be approaching the Tomb Kings here, as they are going to be just kind of sitting back, relaxing, firing away at the Chosen of the Gods, and already doing a nice bit of damage to the Star Chamber Guardians, taking them down a peg or two, already getting close to only half health. And now Cetra smells a little gap in the formation, is going to be charging right on through these Skunk cohorts, getting a little bit of damage in. The Chameleon trying to slow him down, get a little damage on his own, but Nero's Incantation of Protection goes down, giving himself 44% physical resist, especially with these Umbral Tide coming in. He's going to help him tank that damage just a little bit better, but man, he already took quite a bit more damage than I think he would have liked. Definitely not a very good trade, kind of poking its nose out there. The other Kemri Dwarf Sphinx doing a nice bit of damage there, and this is also why I keep the Skeleton or the Tomb Guard in the back, because then these guys are going to be the target for all of those Wind Blasters. Keeping those Tomb Guard in reserve, get a nice little bit of damage from that. The Eyes of the Desert getting some nice shots into the front here, but we do have the Fire Leech Bolt is going to be kind of coming on in. They took a little bit early damage, but they are going to be coming back for round 2. as they are going to be kind of charging and trying to get some nice shots into all of the Tomb King infantry, especially these Tomb Guards sitting right here are going to make excellent targets for that, while the Skink Cohort with Javelins is going to get a little gap in the formation and is going to be able to shut down the Ushabti Great Bows, at least for the time being, and the rest of the Pterodon Riders getting some shots in, going to be pestering, etc., as he is going to be making sure that things kind of keep away from his backline troops, but the front line, the Star Chamber Guardians, have been able to kind of pull through, and that is going to open up a major hole right in the center ranks here, which is going to allow the Lizardmen to kind of flood on through. Got to get at the Chosen Gods, shut down the Ushabti, and a very nice rock drop right into the middle of these Tomb Guard. A very nice unit to be getting that on, but they are right overhead these Eyes of the Desert, and you can just see how much damage one of those units took. Is getting very low in terms of HP, and the Umbral Tide now in range of the Sepulchral, or the Eyes of the Desert, are going to be doing a nice bit of damage there, as they are pretty much unopposed right now. They have nothing on the Tomb King side to really pressure these guys back, as Chameleon Skinks and the Reich just going to make sure anything that does try and chase is going to be slowed down quite a bit. Now the Star Chamber Guardians are making a beeline for that Chosen of the Gods, while the Skeleton Warriors are going to be kind of taking their time, going to be pulling on out, going to be trying to give chase, as the Camarine War Sphinx going for Krotgar. Now he is only on his little Coldwood Rider, but he is still a fearsome foe. He does have bonus versus large and armor piercing, but that Camarine War Sphinx, especially with Cetra in support, should be able to do some nice damage. A couple of hits are going to be landed, and Krotgar does pop that swiftness a bit, so going to get himself a little out of there and doesn't want to be stuck between two of those Camarine War Sphinxes. And we're also getting a Ushabti Great Bow summon right in behind these Horus Warriors, hoping to kind of shut down more and more of these, but they are going to be greeted with a barrage from the Umbral Tide as they get some nice shots into Cetra. Again, he's going to take it very low, and really, as long as these guys are shooting at Cetra, this Camarine War Sphinx not really taking any damage, so that is kind of leaving the Necrotech here without any good targets to be getting heals at. At this point, only one of the restorations have been used. Both the Fire Leech Bullets also are going to be kind of getting pulled out of here, as the Ushabti and the Eyes of the Desert are able to get a nice little bit of damage in, and the Star Chamber Guardians themselves are also going to be routing, as now the Ushabti Great Bow going to be turning their attention elsewhere, going to be trying to clean up more and more of the infantry of the Lizardmen, and Cetra and the War Sphinx having a grand old time just kind of running through all these units, and the other one going to be getting in, trying to shut down the Umbral Tide, while that Hand of the Gods went down. In fact, it looks like it just went underneath the feet of Cetra, not taking a whole lot of damage. Very unfortunate for that cast there. Definitely one of the good tools to kind of whittle down his HP, and the other War Sphinx hunting for these hunting packs, and they might be able to get a shot off at point blank range. Does not look like that's going to be the case, and that Camarine War Sphinx is going to be having a grand old time peeling off a couple of these models before they are able to pull back, as Krotgar is trying to save his very expensive and very needed units here, because they are going to be needed if they want to deal with Cetra and the War Sphinx. They need space to do that, and it looks like the Tomb Kings aren't going to be giving them a whole lot of that. Both the Fire Leech Bullets are back in action, going to be chasing down these Chosen the Gods, while the other unit is going to be now turning their attention forward, looking to be kind of getting some shots in. They might be targeting these Star Chamber Guardians, just kind of free up that ground force. But with how low these Pterodon Riders are, they really don't have a whole lot of threat, especially to like the Ushabti, for example. Really, though, the Tomb Guard need to be their target, and there are a few isolated units where these guys could pull off and approach, but Cetra is still going to be on the hunt, going to go right for the Skink Priest of Heavens this time, and it's going to be getting a nice little hit, and nothing to really save that Skink Priest here. I mean, the Skink Cohort are going to do their darndest to try, but are not going to be enough to really kind of pin in Cetra here, while most of the attention is on the other side, as the Camarine War Sphinx actually has taken quite a bit of damage from Krotgar, though in the meantime it has been able to deal the final blow to that Umbral Tide, as they are down to only 2 models left. So now, even if Krotgar is able to take down that Camarine War Sphinx, Cetra is going to be feeling a lot more safe, especially with that threat gone from the field, and Krotgar is getting fairly low himself, and he doesn't really have any healing to be able to top himself up, as the Camarine War Sphinx just going to be trying to get back into the arms of its waiting troops, as the Sepulchral Stalkers are going to be able to kind of just post up and kind of keep Krotgar at bay, while the rest of the units are kind of getting slowly picked apart bit by bit, as Cetra is a little isolated, and Krotgar is going to be making a beeline for that, and I think seeing that Cetra is going to be trying to pull out himself, and is going to be looking to regroup with the rest of his forces, maybe get a little swipe at Krotgar in the passing, but otherwise most of the Tomb King forces are pretty much consolidated here. here over on that other flank. The Cameron Warswings finishing off those King cohorts. So everything for the Lizardmen is going to be sitting right here, chasing after Cetra, as the shots raining in from the Ushabti Great Bows and now soon to be the Eyes of the Desert. Going to be getting some nice shots right at point blank range, trying to knock down Krokgar, doing a nice bit of damage, and that actually is going to be triggering army losses. And the Lizardmen do succumb to the Tomb Kings, as the Tomb Kings defend their land against the invaders. So let's take a look at the after battle report here real quick and just see how things did on both sides. So for the for the Lizardmen here, the Fire Leech Bolas getting a nice little bit of damage here, but they definitely had plenty more ammunition to be able to kind of try and fire in. And really though, against the Tomb Guard, they will do a lot of good work against them, but they just didn't have enough kind of support to help kind of keep like all of the like the Ushabti Great Bows and the Eyes of the Desert are kind of two prime examples to kind of keep those guys at bay. The Umbral Tide did rather well on top of that, getting 1,000 in total, but it definitely had the potential to do a lot more. Both of the Chameleon Kings very good units. They're very hard for the Tomb Kings to kind of take down, because even like if they bring a bunch of like cavalry or anything like that, these guys have that poison and they're able to slow things down. That 360 fire, really hard to catch these guys, especially when you have the assistance of a bunch of other units. These King cohorts with javelins not doing all too great, and like especially like the Star Chamber Guardians, they did not do very well at all either, because they took quite a bit of a pounding on the initial approach from those Ushabti Great Bow. Saurus Warriors, for the most part, did okay damage. These guys getting 980. The Skink Priest of Heavens doing all right, but definitely those Wind Blasts needed to be directed towards those Tomb Guards. It's pretty much a waste of magic to be going against those Skeleton Warriors, because those guys are just going to crumble very quickly to the Saurus Warriors. Normally why you bring them, because they can break that front line oh so quickly. Krokgar did all right. Unfortunately, some of the Hand of the Gods didn't do all too well itself, but for the Tomb Kings, the Cameron War Sphinx doing very well, getting 2,500, more than paying for itself. Eyes of the Desert doing well on top of that, as well as the Chosen of the Gods and the regular Ushabti all doing a ton of damage to the Lizardmen forces, and being able to last all the way to the end, pretty much using up every last bit of their ammunition between all three of them. Very nice work there. And then the Tomb Guard as well, doing some decent work, especially being around so much in the late game, to have it letting all of the Skeleton Spearmen take the brunt of the initial impact definitely allowed them to trade very well into like all the Saurus and the like. Fortunately, the next attack only did get one of its restorations off. The Cameron War Sphinx just wasn't taking enough damage throughout the early on stages of the fight to really get both of them off. We're still able to get some nice value in, but it did kind of get caught up in that infantry grind. And Cetra himself, while it didn't get a whole lot of value, just kind of roaming the battlefield, proven to be quite a menace, especially all of those buffs to its own troops with the Nero's Incantation and the Jazaf's Incantation. Very nice additions on the field, and that is really what the Lord Nehekra is all about, is kind of getting those army buffs for itself. Well, that's all I'm going to have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.